should make for a better energy in the sequence. And of course,
the fact that you can just ask for that nowadays. Can you make this baked-in filmed moment happen just a smidge earlier with visual effects, please and thank you? Not at all possible. Well, most likely not at all possible in the 20th century. Just the fact that we can do that stuff and you not even notice. Hello and welcome back to another behind-the-scenes reaction video. This isn't the behind-the-scenes of like a set or how a movie was made. This is kind of a look at a number of different movies that were made, so I'll just skip here. This is from the channel Vanity Fair, ILM visual effects artist. This is Todd Vaziri is actually his name, and I first found him as a guest on the VFX Artists React on the Corridor Crew channel, so he was on that channel. He breaks down some hidden visual effects in, I would presume, the Star Wars movies. The thumbnail on this video kind of showed that he breaks down the visual effects in Star Wars movies. Maybe he talks about other work that he's done in other movies and not just Star Wars, but this video seems to be mostly about his work in the Star Wars movies, mostly the sequel trilogy of movies. I definitely absolutely love to learn about the visual effects side of things. Definitely like to learn about how the visual effects workflow works, how certain movies pulled off different visual effects, different movies use visual effects in different ways, and different movies amaze me with the visual effects in different kinds of ways. So this will be really cool to see Todd here, this visual effects supervisor, I think is his position, break down the effects that he's worked on, predominantly from Star Wars, and we'll see if he talks about some other movies. So, a breakdown of the visual effects that Todd Vaziri has worked on here. Of course, link to this original video in the description below.
even though this is a pretty crazy shot with a long lens and a lot of vibration and energy in the shot, I wanted to make sure that several frames were like crystal clear, so subconsciously you actually absorb it, even if it's for just one frame out of like 40 frames.
Oh, okay, so like he's making sure that things look detailed as much as possible here and there to help sell the shot, to help sell the realism, just so it's not, I guess, like looking fake the whole time. That's an interesting goal to have.
So a frame like this, I would pause on and I'm like, there's
really
something
cool.
missing here. I think we need to see Rey. So if you happen to look, there's a little photograph of Rey back there.
Yeah.
Every single movie now has hundreds of visual effects. And I'm not even talking about the space movies or the superhero movies. Pretty much every Best Picture nominee, even if it's a small art house film, has been touched in some way or another with invisible visual effects. You could spend 2 weeks on something and the audience will never notice it. The bad part is that nobody will ever notice your work.
I mean, that's sort of the goal. And obviously, it's not just science fiction type of stuff that has visual effects all over it. There are many movies that have like set extensions, or they're working in like a real life location, but the director wants like a different look to it or whatever, or they don't like this stuff in the background and they'll replace that, like a sky replacement, things like that. Like, enough with the you don't need to gripe about visual effects or CGI. The fake and really gimmicky and obvious CGI doesn't always look that great. Most, if not all, TV and movies, award-winning to like sci-fi movies, all have visual effects work in them of some kind.
I'm Todd Vaziri, digital effects artist. Let's watch a clip from the exciting ending of Rogue One.
Heck yeah. Some of the most amazing effects that I've seen in a Star Wars.
So from this clip, it's clear that there are a few obvious visual effects aspects to the sequence.
Oh,
the biggest one.
Oh man, the Leia effect. I mean, I admire he's gonna go into it. I can't stand the Leia effect. The de-aged Leia. She's good for on screen for about 3 seconds. After that, I'm like, okay, stop, get off screen. Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of this moment.
Of which is a 1977 era Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia in the shot that was filmed in 2016. But there's definitely some effects here that people may not have realized are actually digital visual effects. So
okay, we'll see what digital effects he's referring to here.
Photography that was shot by director Gareth Edwards and visual effects supervisor John Knoll. This first part of the sequence, they did build out the blockade runner to exacting detail.
That hallway.
You'll see back here, there's a blue screen where we're gonna do
set extension.
Set extension. When the camera turns around and
so yeah, now that you're kind of looking down that hallway, I guess the guys just keep walking through. Maybe that green screen is like a distance away for the guys to walk through.
The cockpit of the blockade runner. This cockpit doesn't really exist. So this was actually a partial set that had no electronics. And you might be thinking, why wouldn't you just build a set? At a certain level, there's always a challenge with these types of movies. Are you going to build a physical set? Are you going to build a
How
virtual
detailed are you going to build things out? Yeah.
set, or some kind of hybrid in between? For this sequence, the sequence was extremely planned and designed so that the cockpit of the blockade runner would be seen in only 2 shots.
That's a lot of different details. Yeah, he's describing it's not in that many shots. Yeah, there's a ton of detail that I don't think it would be warranted to build in so much.
Pretty much the exact same angle. And also there would be extremely limited actor interaction with the set. Physically building a giant, beautiful Star Wars worthy set with all the electronics, all the buttons, all the levers, all the graphics, that would be an incredibly time consuming and expensive proposition. Whereas if we only built the areas that the actors would actually be touching, it would be a lot more bang for your buck. This is a very straightforward, plain foam core set that was then built in computer graphics by an artist named Delcio Gomez.
Cool.
And hopefully when it's all composited together, nobody would even be thinking.
Oh yeah, and I found from watching movies that like hard surface stuff and technologies, like this kind of stuff, like the panels, buttons, cockpit panels that he's talking about, is very, very easy to build together material just right and make it look right. Creatures and organic stuff is obviously a much bigger challenge, but this hard surface stuff, as I kind of refer to it, these technological doodads and everything, much easier to do in CGI and are pretty much always convincing enough.
But this can only happen with good design, a solid plan, and then sticking to that plan. The red dots, you'll see this a lot in...
I see like these little GoPros here. I don't know if that's like behind the scenes or if those are like reference points for tracking later. I don't know. These look like GoPros. I don't know what those cameras are for.
Behind the scenes footage of visual effect shots where we know we're going to have to match move the sequence. We need reference markers.
Yeah, because the camera, okay, maybe he's going to get going to the cameras. They're there. But yeah, the camera is moving, and so they have to like track the shot.
We'll also see things like this in behind-the-scenes footage. You'll see a chip chart, you'll see a chrome sphere, and a gray sphere. It actually gives us a ton of information. The gray sphere gives us lighting and shading information that we can then use when we have to create computer graphics in the set. The chrome sphere is trying to get a reflection of everything that is around this ball in this moment in space. That is very valuable for many reasons. Oh, that's where that key light is. Oh, that's the color temperature of the ceiling.
Right.
Oh,
so that the effects, I think, so the VFX people can properly like add in those lights into the digital space and have it replicate and look the way that they're looking for in the set.
What the ground looked like. So when we add our computer graphics, we can light it much more realistically as opposed to just guessing. So you might be noticing.
So then the reflection like gives the effects artist their answer. Like this is how it looked. Then you can fine tune your lighting, fine tune your shading to match the reflection reference perfectly or almost perfectly.
There's these 2 GoPros on tripods back there that are filming the 2 pilots. John Knoll put those there just in case we wanted to get an image of those actors reflected in the view. Screen that we don't see right here. The beginning of the shot.
I feel pretty cool that I caught that right away. Oh, for those reflections. I never knew about that, nor have I noticed that. Now I wonder how many other sci-fi productions, probably many other sci-fi productions, I've never noticed that, and I've never thought, these guys are so good.
The
that
actors,
just blew me away.
Real reflections.
Yeah, you can see those reflections. Real reflections. I mean, it's not like that would be done CG, and that's the video. That's the video footage from the GoPros, then like flipped around and opacity dropped and everything. My mind is like, okay, now I get just to do these things, and there it is. And you grabbed it from the GoPro cameras.
Back
Super
there.
Slick.
You also see reflection of Princess Leia in the shot because she's just off to the right.
Oh, because she's just right there. Dang.
Subtle little things that really help sell the shot. So again, this is a work in progress shot where we dissolve.
I think Rogue One. I'm certain Rogue One was nominated for Best Visual Effects. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Sorry, hold on. Okay, it was nominated for Best Visual Effects in whatever year that was. 2017. It was nominated for Best Visual Effects. Lost it to The Jungle Book, which, if I'm trying to recall, I think I know what Jungle Book is referring to, but did not win.
the real Starfield into Ryan Hopkins effect stars. I want to mention Starfields for just a second.
Go ahead.
Starfields are kind of important in the world of
Yes.
Star Wars, in the movies that we
They
make.
were, yes, being very well established in the original trilogy.
At Industrial Light and Magic, we had been using the same computer graphics tool to make Starfields for many, many years. And it was getting a little bit long in the tooth. And I took it upon myself. I'm like, I really want to create a new tool to create Starfields. I used this sequence as my test bed to see how can I create a computer graphics tool to make Starfields that can be future-proofed for the next decade or whatever. And it worked out. So
Yeah.
I make the stars in Star Wars.
Stars by Todd Vaziri. That's awesome. Oh, he is breaking
So
down
here's a
other
clip
movies.
from Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. The shot
I have not seen this one. I've heard great things about it. So here we go.
I'm going to talk to you about is the tail end of the owlbear sequence.
What is that again?
Dang.
Owlbear.
The obvious visual effects here are the fact that we have her transforming from the owlbear into
Oh,
a
yeah.
human, but I want to talk about this very end of the shot. This is what was photographed on the day. Not a lot of shocking things here, but what you've noticed is that when the camera
of
finishes its orbit around Sophia, there's a breath and then she fires. And that was all planned on the day. In editorial, when they were cutting the sequence together, it felt like she was aiming for too long. So the directors asked us, could we
Could you manipulate something to eliminate that gap in the edit?
move that event, like 20, 30, 40 frames earlier in the shot so that it's happening while the camera is still orbiting around her. Should make for a better energy in the sequence. And of course,
The fact that you can just ask for that nowadays. Can you make this baked-in filmed moment happen just a smidge earlier with visual effects, please and thank you? Not at all possible. Well, most likely not at all possible in the 20th century. Just the fact that we can do that stuff and you not even notice.
foolishly said, yeah, sure, we can do that. Turns out
Sure, we
it
can
was
do that.
actually pretty difficult. So what I've done is I've taken later frames of her and moved it earlier in my timeline and started just doing basic isolations to try to
So you're, like,
separate
masking
the various elements of her
around her
body
head?
so that it would actually work. One way of trying to illustrate this is this picture-in-picture. She's actually firing much later. As you can
So is he adjusting her reaction, her face?
see on the left here, the camera is pretty stationary, and that's raw footage. On the right is my first proof of concept, like, could I actually do this? And if you step through frame by frame, it's pretty sloppy and pretty quick. But I needed buy-off from editorial to say, hey, this is good timing. Now go ahead and clean it all up. So then Trevor Hazel, who was Roto paint supervisor of this show, and we got together and we decided, how are we going to do this? Which required basically rebuilding.
So he's not talking so much about the creature effects and the choreography they had to do. Now he's talking about retiming something they already filmed.
trees behind her for that earlier section and isolating her for that later section, and me doing a bunch of
Good
cutting
Lord.
and pasting and morphing and reanimating her hair, her hand, her arm to make sure it
no
all
thanks. I'm not doing that job.
comes together to get rid of that chunk of time so that it all just flows.
I'm just gonna watch and not try to
even
process
thinks
this
about
too
it.
much.
So like even here in the early version, you see she's got extra
Hairs and
limbs.
whatnot.
Her hair has trapped older versions of the trees. Those are future trees back there. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do. So for a shot like this, it took a lot of back and forth
Yeah,
to
no
make sure
kidding.
that it all worked out. And it was probably over the course of maybe 2 weeks, off and on. We're always working on several shots at once.
Oh, they take breaks here and there. Okay, which hair do I need to adjust when I go back to my computer?
For example, I decided to keep this part of her armor from the earlier section, but I needed the bungee cord from the later section. That's an entire
Readjusted
composite
that.
here where I'm taking past and future and shoving them together.
Okay, now I wonder how many times throughout the editorial and previewing process the director goes, like, maybe every scene 2 or 3. Can you adjust these 2 or 3 things just a tiny bit? Is that each and every scene? How often or how normal is that? I mean, I know it's normal, but I guess how often throughout the movie does the director ask for these kinds of adjustments?
Late, nobody can tell. And just to add a little bit of extra energy to what she was doing, I added a little dust poof. It's something that you don't even think about. It just makes it feel that much more authentic.
Sure, cool, man.
These types of invisible
like.
visual effects are accessible to almost every movie now. And pretty much every movie has these types of effects that nobody necessarily planned on, but for continuity, for a little bit of additional set decoration, for a little bit of additional design and visual interest, we can do this now at an efficient way. As much as space battles and superhero antics are exciting, sometimes the invisible stuff is so rewarding. So now let's watch this clip from Disney Plus series, Skeleton Crew.
More Star Wars.
Here we have a pretty, typical Star Wars scene where we have two characters climbing up a
Now
giant.
my eyes are kind of looking for what small thing, well, besides the obvious backdrop and creature effects and everything, what small thing is he talking about adjusting? Maybe like set extension?
In an amazing landscape.
Maybe like I extended the ladder down or something.
Pretty clear, obvious visual effects here. Hopefully you're buying into the world. A beautiful environment that was built using digital techniques and some new real-time tools. We sometimes use the term matte painting. Basically, it means a synthetic environment that has been painted in one way or another. It could
One
be
of the oldest effects techniques, goes back a century or so.
digital tools. It could be actual brushstrokes by amazing painters that would then be optically composited later into live action. In a case like this, it's a combination of
matte painting in the
photography,
background.
paintings, and we also built this sequence environment in our real-time system. Almost like a game engine where you get your results of your changes instantaneously. With traditional computer graphics, we cannot see the results instantly. We can't move a light and immediately get that feedback. It'd take a couple of seconds. Extremely detailed renders, it could take 20, 30 hours a frame. But a real-time system allows you to be able to see everything in real time. What was really fun about this shot is that it exemplifies all of the high-tech fancy things that we can do now, combined with the most low-tech problem-solving tools that we have at our disposal. What was filmed on that day was an extremely...
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Just a simple ladder and then chroma key stuff, the set around it.
set with the stunt performers climbing, and they were actually filmed.
And they're climbing... Oh, and there's someone in a costume there, and they're just climbing this ladder up over and over and over and digitally stacking those up.
Separately. The whole point of this is that the two kids in the previous scene tie a rope around each other as they're doing this extremely dangerous thing so they could feel a little bit safer. So what's the job here? The job is to take them out of this partial set and put them in the computer graphics world and hopefully make it look extremely photoreal and plausible. Here's one of our earliest takes of like just setting up the geography and early extraction of the blue screen. So the two of them are right on top of each other, and that's not going to really work. You can see we've got a lot of work to do before this actually feels real. So we need to separate them, start really working on the shot. Another work in progress. We're getting there. Now they're properly distanced apart. We're all getting pretty happy. The sequence is coming to a close. We've got some blowing mist. We've got lens flare. Got a little bit of camera rumble on the shot. We're very close to final. Until compositing supervisor Heath Cranack mentioned in dailies, hey, where's the rope between the two actors? Everybody in the room was like, oh, geez, we forgot to put in the rope.
That one tiny thing,
yeah, that's
one tiny important thing somehow skipped out on that when you were doing everything else.
My bad. We never discussed how we were going to accomplish the rope. It was only going to be for this one shot, because in every other shot, it's a practical rope of the two actors on a blue screen set. We all kind of got dejected and go, okay, well, I guess we need to model a rope. We got to texture it. We're going to have to light it. We're going to have to simulate.
I feel like the rope is one of the easier things you can do in CG. It's a wide shot, so you can do a pretty basic simulation attached to one point, attached to another point, have those points track the characters up. Maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but a rope is a rope in CG, and you can pull that off fairly easily, I think. That's just my input.
In computer graphics, I guess we're not going to get this shot done anytime soon. And I said, wait, hold on a second. Let me try something. And I didn't tell him what I was going to try, because if it failed, I wanted to, save face. So later that day, I thought, what if I actually filmed
okay.
element and stuck it into the shot? We're never going to have a close-up of it. Yeah, and it might just work. It looks small enough.
Exactly.
It's
Use like
only
a string or something. I feel like we're kind of on the same page here.
So I fumbled around in my garage, and I was looking for a rope that could possibly simulate the rope in the scene.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't get an exact match, but I found some bungee cord.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
If it looks good enough or close enough, and you don't need that much detail, good enough and close enough is literally perfect.
Tear this some way. Let me fasten it to the top of my garage door with some blue tape, looking really janky there.
No,
How am I going to film it?
Well,
Well, I have my iPhone 12 at the time.
If you can get all this done in like an hour, comp it in, done, set. Welcome to today's awesome technology and creative problem solving.
Can record at high speed because I knew that this was going to look a little bit too rigid and too small. And filming it at a high speed and moving it around
gives you that flexibility to speed up, slow down if you need to affect how the rope's elasticity.
Feel a little bit bigger and give me more flexibility if I need to retime it or reanimate it. So I set this up. I made sure the lighting direction was similar to what's in the shot.
I mean, I would do something like this on my own small project or for a student film. I would absolutely do something like this.
A microphone stand to be my tripod, and I had all these little bits of gear around to attach my iPhone to the microphone stand. I stopped down so that the door went really dark, and I just started filming. And I went down underneath it and just kind of started jiggling the bungee cord to get some naturalistic, realistic motion that might happen with these two characters climbing such a big distance. I let the camera run for a real long time, hoping that when I brought it into my compositing program, that I could find a nice little section that I could 2D animate it. So that's what made it into the shot. And when I presented it, I still didn't tell anybody at ILM how I was doing the shot. Well, it was finaled on take one, and it made me really happy. And then I got to tell them how I did it. And it was just a nice blend of extremely high-tech stuff going on in this scene.
It's a nice pat on the back.
And the lowest tech you could possibly imagine. Using stuff that I found around my house and the phone that was in my pocket.
You never know what solves the problem. Sometimes the simpler stuff. While my first idea was just put in a CG rope into that and composite that, the practical solution, the janky-looking solution. If it works, it works. It does not matter how janky or how weird it looks. If it works, it works. If you can just put it in and it's convincing enough, you don't need that much detail, works totally fine. I love it.
All right, let's now take a look at a shot from Star Trek Into Darkness. This is a shot which shows you Starship Enterprise in an environment that you've never seen it before, hiding underwater.
Lots of fluid simulation.
And this is the big reveal to the aliens of that planet who had never seen a starship before. Kind of a big shot. I think it's a very good demonstration of staging things for camera and trying your best with what you have to sell scale. We want the Enterprise to feel very
massive.
Big. I was the compositor on this shot. Leorin did the water for this shot, and Tumphy just lit the Enterprise. At the time, a very complicated.
And there's also, if I can backtrack a little bit.
Big. I was the compositor on this shot. Leorin did the water for this shot.
You have the sun glare. I'm pretty sure J.J. Abrams also directed this one, so sun glare in there too.
And Tumphy just.
But it looks like we're also getting like moisture spots getting onto the camera. Oh yeah, many layers.
At the time, a very complicated water simulation. One of the craziest ones we've ever done. Using physics particle simulation tools that are mimicking what would happen if a piece of matter gets blown by the wind or collides with thousands of its similar pieces of geometry. An object breaks through it that needs to have authentic collisions. We have tools to help us calculate all of those things that would happen in real life. You always start with what would be physically accurate. What would really happen if you were to stage this incredible scene of a gigantic spaceship emerging from the water? And frequently the answer is it would be really boring, or you wouldn't get the scale cues, or it would look really small for some reason or another. Sometimes the real thing is not what you need. You have to tell a story.
You have to amplify it more and do more stuff in it to really sell the idea you're going for.
And real life physics are not on your side. The artifice of movies is staging things for camera. And that's what Lee had to do for this water simulation. which has many, many different elements and required a ton of horsepower to get accomplished. This first version is one of the earliest versions of the scene that the animators were working with. These actors were filmed against a blue screen. I did a quick extraction of the blue screen, and the animators did a slow reveal of the Enterprise. Basic framing, the feeling of the shot is going to change once the water's added, but this gives us a blueprint, a starting point. This is a work in progress where we're trying to define the horizon line, the detail of the ocean, the detail of the clouds. How is this all going to work together? Pretty intimidating that we're going to have to put a spaceship back there that's covered in water. Just like anything in real life, you have to start small. You have to start controlled. The domain of the ocean is actually pretty small, because if that domain gets super big, the calculations
too much,
that the computer has to do to resolve the physics, it just gets astronomical. So you try to make things as small as possible at first, and then expand out if you have to. These are witness camera fixed perspectives to try to see, okay, does this feel like water sheeting off of it? Does it feel big? Is it moving in the ways that we want it to in terms of gross movement? There were certain aspects of the shot that we wanted to make sure that we saw.
Looks like jelly pouring off of the ship, just as basic water simulation. It's like this gel stuff, which you could keep going in that direction if it's the look that you like.
To make sure that the back of the engine, the nacelle, was revealed at just the right point. So we have to make sure the water is cleared by that point. If we were doing this for real, the water would have sheeted off of the nacelle pretty quickly. But we need to keep the water going. So we're doing all these tricks to make sure that the water continues to flow.
Yeah, and that's where you can kind of customize your laws of physics. You can customize your particle simulation, so you have more control over directing how you want the ship to appear, how you want details underneath the water falling to appear.
Hard in real life, and it's hard in simulations. You give it your best shot as to what would really happen with real world physics. The particles will do their thing, but that's not right for the movie. If I want this gush of water to come this way instead of this way, I have to trick the simulation. I have to trick physics.
And from some of my experience with particle simulations, you can add objects around your main model that are invisible objects, but they're influencing the particle simulation, so it blocks particles to go a certain way. Or if particles are just keep going this way, you want to stop, put an object there so kills particles from going that way. There are a number of different things to modify and control the particle simulation to do what you want it to do without looking too controlled or look too obvious that you have so many objects blocking the particles from moving around. That's my nerdy 3D background talking here.
We have all these wonderful tools to help guide physics to work in our favor. There's all these tiny little stories happening all over the place with how the water sheets and the water reacts to the Enterprise. Where the rocket is blasting out all this energy, seeing the water interact with that and just get flung right out. Steam and vapor and stuff like that. Water droplets, digital wind machines to make sure that the vapor goes right in the actor's face or just goes right behind the camera. It's that kind of attention to detail that makes it feel big. It just reminds me of behind the scenes photos you see of some of your favorite movies and how jarring it is sometimes to see 50 crew members just inches away from an actor's face. Even something like this, where it's just a person behind a desk. There's so many things that have to happen in order to get the desired lighting effect. There's bounce cards everywhere. There's lights. There's a crew just...
So you have a crew back there. Is that a camera? Oh, that's the camera back here. This is behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. Camera back there, I presume zoomed in on the screen. The camera seems like it's kind of flat with the screen. I don't know. The camera feels like it's aimed up this way. I presume this camera is close up on the monitor. Yep, that's that mic on him. And then you've even seen this practical backlight back here that I haven't really been able to see it. Provide rim light back here. I think maybe that's just a practical light for a show. I like these two tube lights. Behind the scenes are the behind the scenes. And I've liked these two reference balls behind them.
Feet away, there's microphones.
Oh, this is a bounce board. I'm like, what is this flat, narrow board up against the desk? This is bouncing this top. I don't know what the specific light model is. This top light that's lighting kind of top of him, and this is bouncing up into him.
There's a lot of things that
doesn't
are
break the illusion at all. It adds more depth and like, oh, that's how you did such and such. Makes it much more interesting.
done to cheat reality in order to get the
Zoom
artistic
back in, everything disappears, and it all looks normal now.
effect.
That was really cool. I really like that this behind-the-scenes video zoomed out more, said, see, there's all this gimmicky going around, this gimmicky stuff going on all around me, and not just in these movies that I'm breaking down.
That we're trying to do. And the exact same thing happens in visual effects. Movies, it's all about cheating.
It's all about cheating.
All right, let's take a look at a really cool scene from Transformers.
Yeah.
It's one of the iconic shots.
I feel like I've seen this movie broken down many times before, so we'll see what more I glean from
Scorponok Desert sequence. One of the really exciting things about working on a Michael Bay movie is his focus on photography. He wants to film things, and he wants to film things blowing up.
I'm not the biggest Michael Bay fan. I'm not the biggest fan of his movies. Say what you want. You can dislike him all you want, but I do like the technical observation, the technical saying that Michael Bay knows what looks great and where to put the camera and how photography should work. I do agree with what Todd's saying here.
Special effects department that is in charge of sparks and explosions and smoke and all of these types of things worked really hard on these movies. It gives the plates, the photography that we get, that we then have to make robots work within that scene. An energy that is very difficult to recreate if you were building everything from scratch. You've already got such a rich tapestry of photography to start with, and then you get to make the cool robots inside it. In every shot, there's an element of physical effects. There's a mortar going off. There's dust, there's smoke. Something is actually happening in the shot for the camera operator to frame and for the actors to react to. And that makes a huge difference when we're adding synthetic characters. This shot I did not work on. I'm only showing it because I'm very jealous of the fact that everybody here did such a great job. This is the photography.
It's your teammates doing such a great job. You don't need to be that jealous of it.
These actors are running toward camera and a gigantic sand explosion happening behind them. And the whole brief was Scorponok bursts out from underneath the sand, barely misses them, and goes back into the sand.
Like my imagination is really churning and working. Like there's the robot doing all the crazy stuff.
The animators, under the supervision of Scott Benza, came up with. This is the idea for the shot, the shot design. What you're obviously not seeing is any of the foreground holdouts. Scorponok is supposed to be behind the actors.
Yeah. So probably lots of masking to do around the actors.
This gives us an idea of how it's all going to work. Even though there's a lot of physical effects, sand and explosions going on, we wanted to make sure that it felt like Scorponok was just underneath the sand and is oozing sand from all of its mechanics. So Nigel Sumner worked on the particle effects for this. And it's very supporting stuff, but just enough to make it feel like sand is coming out of all of those moving gears of the robot. So this is what it looks like with just the CG sand and Scorponok rendered, and with some stock sand elements that were shot specifically for this movie against the blue screen that Mike Conti, the compositor, started to add in because there was no physical effects of Scorponok diving back into the sand. So we needed to indicate that in some way with these sand bursts. So we've got a combination of computer graphics and then real physical effects added into the shot. This is just what the render looks like of the Scorponok against the plate. And this shows you how much work the compositor Mike Conti had to do. The lighting beautifully done by John Sigurdsson. Beth D'Amato was the roto paint supervisor of this.
Holy crap.
Rotoscoping is the painstaking frame by frame tracing of live action elements because we wanted to reliably be able to put computer graphics elements behind them. That can get really, really complicated really, really fast. These actors, every single frame of them had to be
snip around, next frame, snip around. Well, not like that, but like a mask line around them and you're having to move the lines. Or like, I think some rotoing, which I'm sure he's going to go into, most rotoing with like people and complicated stuff is like mask for the head, mask for this part of his body, this mask for this part of his body, so that you're adjusting different parts of the body instead of like redoing all the lines around all the actors.
Amazing work.
Yeah, that's some kind of stuff. Now repeat that for the rest of the movie. Rotoscope, add in the robot effects, add in more of the visual effects. Love or hate the Transformers movies, love or hate these visual effects heavy movies. Lots and lots of work, and these big stories are being told.
20-year-old shot. And tools, at least in computer graphics, have advanced greatly.
Substantially.
Why does this still hold up? Why does this look really good still? If you have people with vision who stick to a plan and enough time and resources are given to execute that plan, and of course the level of taste and talent of all the people involved, you can create something that's timeless. Even if you can see the seams. The original Jurassic Park holds up beautifully because of all the amazing fundamentals of filmmaking, of shot design, of drawing your eye, having dynamic shots, foreground, midground, background, perfectly aligning.
Yeah, all those different composition elements coming together, direction, camera doing the right thing, the effects department doing the right thing, all the teams doing their jobs in just the right ways. Definitely makes their effects in their movie hold up.
Style of the director, all by design, with a very methodical approach.
Yeah.
Nice job!
I'm getting pretty good at this.
And now going to the Star Wars sequels, which has very mixed reactions to its intentionality.
Now it's time to take a
negative reviews to its intentionality.
Scene from Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
But I do love a lot.
So this shot means.
Sorry, but I do love a lot of the effects, most if not all of the effects in the sequel trilogy.
To me, when I was 10 years old, I saw Return of the Jedi. I was a big Star Wars fan. I remember getting my hands
Return of the Jedi being my favorite of the original.
On the making of Return of the Jedi magazine. And I will never forget
awesome.
The photo of Paul Houston
ATSTs.
at the San Rafael campus of Industrial Light and Magic working on the ATST.
Yep, chicken walkers.
And he's standing right next to it. And I'm like, wait a second. People make this? This is amazing. What is he doing? What is actually he setting up? There's miniature trees. There's a miniature ATST. How does this work? And that's led me down the road of what I ended up wanting to do for a living.
Same, except in the filmmaker realm and not specifically the visual effects realm. Though as much as I love the visual effects realm, not exactly a department I want to work in specifically, but like being part of that and making the whole movie obvious. Making whole movies, like he and I and other filmmakers have this similar journey of being inspired by older works like Star Wars, Jurassic Park, what have you, and here we are now.
And what's really fun about this shot is that I got to work on a Star Wars shot with Paul Houston. Paul Houston created the environment for this particular shot. The Millennium Falcon was lit by Dan Lobel. Paul Cavanaugh is the animation supervisor, and I was the compositor. So I'm going to break down some of the elements of this shot. This is what the animation team puts together. That gets handed over to the lighting team. It's very similar to if we're all playing with our action figures, as we all did when we were young, and moving spaceships around a space. That's what the animators are doing.
Yep.
They're running it through the space. They're less concerned about the lighting and texturing of the environment
more about
and of the ships. So then the lighting team, it takes this animation and has to determine, all right, what's the best sun spot to show off the Falcon in this shot? We need to sell the scale of this shot. We need to make it feel authentic. We need to make it feel spontaneous, as if a camera crew was out waiting in the desert and waiting for their cue, and they hear on the walkie-talkie, here come the spaceships. All right, is everybody ready?
Making additional effects look and feel as though someone was out there filming it is always a really cool and really great and intentional strategy.
Getting the best absolute image possible within those constraints. Our lighter would hang on a frame like this and try to make it work for this frame. Then they would run through the entire animation. Well, at what point does it break? Well, it looks really good on this frame, but it doesn't look really good on this frame. So maybe we should adjust. Just as a cinematographer would do on a real set.
Readjust their
it's
camera?
the exact same analog.
Yeah.
But except we're using digital tools rather than physically moving lights. As a compositor, this is a representation of what I'm handed. It is the environment and the spaceships that are rendered. What you're not seeing are all of sand and dust swirls, the glints, the glares. This is on a desert planet, and the sun is really, really hot, and we need to be able to see things that are lit by the sun and also in the shadows. That's a very difficult thing to get across when you're dealing with all CG scenes. And you're also not seeing the depth of field effects that would happen when you're shooting with such a long lens. 1500 millimeter lens. We don't usually see that in Star Wars movies, which means that things that are very close to camera will be very much out of focus. The camera is actually recording lots of real estate. There's many, many layers of depth. How are we going to make that feel real when it's entirely computer graphics? Other things like camera shake and heat ripple and heat distortion from the mirage effect that you get when you're in a very hot environment. This is an illustration of some of the layers of depth and dust and that gets kicked up, and
all
sand.
All the different passes that he's working with in compositing in the sand stuff, compositing the shadow work and everything else.
Kicked up. We were trying to simulate the idea that when the Falcon goes really low, some energy coming off of the Falcon is displacing a lot of sand. And all of that stuff helps you understand how big these things are, what's close and what's far away. These are all the things I love to do. And of course, it has blasters in it and TIE fighters. So when I embarked on this shot, I was like, let's make it as cool as possible. Digital visual effects is just like any other step in the filmmaking process. There's really not a lot of fundamental difference between, say, what the costume designer does, what the editors do, what the set designers do. We're all trying to work together to solve problems, and tell the story using light and images.
Use all the different tools and specialties that you have.
We can, within the time that we have. It takes a lot of coordination to get all of this stuff done. And sometimes hundreds and hundreds of digital artists working behind the scenes. There's a perception out there that digital effects are a black box, that it just gets shipped off and
sometimes it feels like that.
You're just handed this work. Couldn't be further from the truth. We work directly with filmmakers to achieve their vision.
With the director, Wow, that was very, very cool. I am very glad that I've saved this video around for about a month or so since it was published. But yeah, super, super cool. Very cool in-depth look at Todd Vaziri's work and how visual effects work and all the different details that goes into making visual effects, as well as the little problem-solving stuff that some effects people have to do, like getting a rope in their house, dangling it down, or revealing that they had 2 GoPro mounts outside of a cockpit to record the actors inside the cockpit to like flip that image around, make a reflection. Many, many things that blew my mind. Many, many things that I loved learning from this video from Todd here. And let me know in the comments what you enjoyed, what you learned from this, and what looks cool to you in movies, what kind of effects looks cool to you in movies. Thanks so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it also, and I will see you in the next video sooner or later, hopefully, I think. More videos coming soon. Another movie review coming out soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.